March 2026. Rihanna's Beverly Hills mansion just got riddled with bullets, an AR-15, 7 shell casings, a $10 million bail, and now the internet is connecting this attempted assassination to the Epstein files. Rihanna's name appears 37 times in those documents. Jeffrey Epstein had her phone number in 2 separate phones. He called her repeatedly, and within weeks of the January 2026 Epstein file release, someone drives up to her home and opens fire while her 3 kids are inside. The LAPD won't reveal motive. The suspect is a 35-year-old woman from Florida who somehow knew exactly where Rihanna lived. And now people are asking, is someone trying to silence witnesses? Because this isn't the first mysterious death or attack connected to these files. And before we go any further, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, because what I'm about to show you is going to make a lot of powerful people very uncomfortable. This isn't just about Rihanna. This is about a pattern. A pattern of people connected to Epstein suddenly ending up dead or under attack. And if you're paying attention to what's really happening right now, you can't ignore this anymore. Let me start from the beginning so you understand exactly what we're dealing with here. March 8, 2026. Sunday afternoon, Beverly Crest, California. Rihanna is home with A$AP Rocky and their 3 children. 10 people total are inside the mansion. A white Tesla pulls up to the front gate. The driver is Ivana Lizette Ortiz, 35 years old, from Orlando, Florida. She steps out with an AR-15 style rifle, and she just opens fire. 7 assault rifle casings recovered from the scene. Bullet holes in the front gate. Bullet holes in a parked vehicle. Bullet holes in the exterior wall of the home. Thank God nobody was hurt. But this wasn't a warning shot. This was an attempt to kill. Within hours, LAPD arrests Ortiz at the Sherman Oaks Galleria. She's charged with attempted murder of 10 people. Her bail is set at $225 million total. That's $10 million per person she tried to kill. LAPD Chief Jim McDonald says her motive is under investigation. But here's what makes this whole thing suspicious. They won't tell us the motive. They won't explain how she knew where Rihanna lived. They won't explain how a woman from Orlando, Florida, just happened to be in California with an AR-15. They won't explain why she specifically targeted one of the most famous women in the world. And they especially won't address the timing, because just 2 months earlier, January 2026, the Epstein files get released to the public. Thousands of pages, phone logs, flight records, names, so many names, and Rihanna's name appears 37 times. For those who don't know, Jeffrey Epstein was a billionaire financier who ran an international sex trafficking ring involving minors. He had connections to some of the most powerful people on the planet: politicians, billionaires, Hollywood executives, music industry moguls. He allegedly died by suicide in his jail cell in 2019. But the documents tell a different story. A story about who he was connected to, who he called, who he flew on his private jet, who visited his island. And Rihanna's name isn't there, not as an accused participant, but as someone Epstein was trying to reach. The Department of Justice phone log from 2018 show Jeffrey Epstein had Rihanna's phone number in 2 different phones. He made multiple calls trying to contact her. The records show these were missed calls. She didn't pick up. At least that's what it looks like from the documents. But Epstein was clearly trying to reach her, repeatedly, and investigators found that Epstein was allegedly a huge Rihanna fan. He used her song Unfaithful as his ringtone. He instructed his assistants to buy tickets to her concerts. Maybe he was just obsessed with her music. Or maybe there was more to it. Because here's where things start to get really interesting. Rihanna was discovered by Jay-Z. She was signed to Def Jam when Jay-Z was president of the label. Jay-Z became her mentor. He built her career. And A$AP Rocky, her current partner and father of her children, is signed to Roc Nation. Roc Nation is Jay-Z's management and entertainment company. So Rihanna's entire professional life has been connected to Jay-Z for nearly 2 decades. And Jay-Z's name is also in the Epstein files. Not just mentioned, but directly implicated. Senator Nancy Mace recently pressed Jay-Z to testify in front of Congress regarding his name being mentioned in an FBI report about a sexual assault. That report named Jay-Z, Harvey Weinstein, and Roc Nation artist Pusha T. Pusha T is also signed to Roc Nation. So you have Rihanna, A$AP Rocky, and Pusha T all under the same umbrella, all connected to Jay-Z, all with ties, however tangential, to the Epstein files. And now Rihanna's house gets shot up with an AR-15. And the LAPD won't tell us why. For those who haven't been paying attention to the pattern, Let me walk you through what's been happening since these files dropped, because this isn't the first suspicious incident, not even close. And now, this is where things really do get big, because in the weeks and months since the Epstein files were released, multiple people connected to this case have ended up dead, mysteriously dead. Let me start with Omar Jabrilov, Russian politician, businessman, and according to multiple reports, a close associate of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Jabrilov posted photos on social media with Diddy, Jay-Z, and Beyoncé. He called Ghislaine Maxwell his soulmate. He was deeply embedded in the world these people operated in. And just weeks after the Epstein files dropped, he was found shot in the head. Authorities tried to call it a suicide, but his daughter publicly stated her father would never do that to himself. He was in his 60s. He had everything to live for, and most importantly, he had information. Information about connections between Epstein, Diddy, and Jay-Z. Now he's dead. Then there's Kane McKnight. Kane McKnight was found dead at one of Diddy's properties just last month. He was allegedly involved in drug trafficking. He was also allegedly connected to the music industry. And he was the fifth person to die in connection to Diddy's legal troubles. The fifth, let me say that again. 5 people connected to Diddy have died since these investigations started ramping up. And every single death is being ruled as either suicide, overdose, or accidental. But when you have 5 deaths in a row, all connected to the same person, all happening right as federal investigations are heating up, you start to see a pattern. And for those who think I'm reaching, let me remind you what happened with Epstein himself. Jeffrey Epstein allegedly committed suicide in a federal jail cell. A jail cell where cameras mysteriously malfunctioned, where guards mysteriously fell asleep, where protocols mysteriously weren't followed. And the man who had dirt on some of the most powerful people in the world just happened to die right before he could testify. You don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to find that suspicious. You just have to have functioning eyes and a brain. And now we're seeing the same pattern repeat with people connected to the Epstein files. People who might have information. People who might be able to testify. People who might be able to connect the dots. They're dying. Or in Rihanna's case, someone tried to make her die. Now, let me walk you through exactly what happened on March 8th, because the details matter here. Ivana Lizette Ortiz didn't just randomly show up to Rihanna's house. She knew exactly where to go. Beverly Crest is an exclusive, gated community. Celebrities buy homes there specifically for privacy and security. The addresses aren't public. You can't just Google Rihanna's house and get directions. So, how did Ortiz know where to go? Who told her? Who gave her that information? And how did she get an AR-15 style rifle? She's from Florida. She somehow traveled across the country to California with a weapon and with the exact address of one of the most famous women in the world. That doesn't happen by accident. That takes planning. That takes resources. That takes information. When LAPD arrested Ortiz at the Sherman Oaks Galleria, they found her social media history. She had posted things like, "Rihanna wants to kill me." She claimed, "When you die, God has taken me to my future." On the surface, this looks like a mentally unstable woman having a psychotic break. And that's exactly how the media is framing it. Disturbed stalker, celebrity obsession gone wrong, mental health crisis. But here's the thing about using mentally unstable people as pawns. They're perfect for this. Because if you're a powerful person who wants someone silenced, you don't do it yourself. You don't hire a professional hitman. Those people can talk. Those people leave trails. Instead, you find someone who's already unstable. Someone who's already posting erratic things online. Someone who can be manipulated. You give them information. You give them access. You give them a weapon. And you point them in the right direction. And when they get caught, everyone just shrugs and says, "Crazy person did a crazy thing." Case closed. No further investigation needed. But that doesn't explain how she got the address. That doesn't explain how she got the weapon across state lines. That doesn't explain the timing. Because why now? Why March 2026? Why just 2 months after the Epstein files dropped? Rihanna has been famous since 2005. She's been a global superstar for 2 decades. If someone wanted to stalk her or attack her, they've had 20 years to do it. But it happens now, right after her name shows up 37 times in the Epstein documents. Right after people start asking questions about who Epstein was connected to. Right after Senator Nancy Mace starts demanding Jay-Z testify before Congress. The timing is not a coincidence. And now here's where things get even weirder. Let me show you exactly what's in the Epstein files about Rihanna. Because the documents tell a very specific story. Phone log dataset 10 covers calls made from Jeffrey Epstein's network in 2018. Rihanna's name appears multiple times as the recipient of calls. The records show these were missed calls, meaning she didn't answer. But Epstein had her number in 2 separate phones. That means at some point, someone gave him her direct line, twice, and he used it multiple times. The DOJ has been very careful to say that being in Epstein's phone logs doesn't establish wrongdoing. And that's true. Epstein collected phone numbers like baseball cards. He had access to virtually every level of entertainment, finance, and political power. His address books were like a who's who of the global elite. So just being in his contacts doesn't mean you did anything illegal, but it does raise questions. Questions like, why did Epstein have Rihanna's number? How did he get it? Who gave it to him? And why was he trying to call her repeatedly? According to investigators, Epstein was obsessed with Rihanna's music. He used Unfaithful as his ringtone. He bought concert tickets. He told his assistants he was a huge fan. So maybe it really was just fandom. Maybe he was a billionaire who wanted to meet his favorite artist. But let me ask you something. When does a billionaire with connections to everyone in the entertainment industry need to personally call an artist? He knew Jay-Z. He had Jay-Z's number. Jay-Z was Rihanna's mentor and label president at the time. If Epstein wanted to meet Rihanna, if he wanted tickets to her show, if he wanted anything from her, he could have just called Jay-Z. One phone call. Hey Jay, I'm a huge Rihanna fan. Can you introduce us? Done. But instead, Epstein had her personal number, and he was calling her directly, bypassing Jay-Z completely. Why? What was he trying to reach her about? What did he want to talk to her about? And most importantly, did Rihanna know something? Did she see something? Did she hear something in all her years being mentored by Jay-Z and working in an industry that Epstein had his fingers all over? Because if she did, if she has information that could implicate powerful people, then she's not just a pop star anymore. She's a witness. And we've already seen what happens to witnesses in this case. Let me take you back to 2005, because that's when Rihanna's story with Jay-Z begins. And you need to understand that relationship to understand why this matters. Rihanna was 16 years old when she auditioned for Jay-Z at Def Jam. She was from Barbados. She had no industry connections. She had no power. She had no protection. Jay-Z was president of Def Jam Records at the time. He was one of the most powerful men in music. He signed her immediately, and he took her under his wing. He became her mentor. He guided her career. He made her a star. And for years, people praised Jay-Z for discovering Rihanna, for giving her a chance, for believing in her talent. But after the Epstein files, after we learned how many powerful men in entertainment were connected to Epstein's trafficking operation, after we learned how many of them used their positions of power to exploit young women, people started asking different questions. Questions like, what was Jay-Z's relationship with Epstein really about? Why is his name in an FBI report about sexual assault? Why is he being called to testify before Congress? And what did Rihanna see during all those years working closely with him? I'm not saying Jay-Z did anything to Rihanna. I'm not making that accusation. But I am saying that Rihanna was 16 years old when she entered an industry that we now know was infested with predators. Predators who were all connected to Jeffrey Epstein. And Jay-Z was one of those connections. So what did she see? What did she hear? What did she witness during all those years? Because if she witnessed anything, if she has any information that could corroborate the claims against Jay-Z or anyone else in that circle, then she's not safe. She's a threat, and threats get eliminated. Now, let me connect another dot for you. A$AP Rocky, Rihanna's partner, father of her 3 children. He's signed to Roc Nation. Roc Nation is Jay-Z's company. So even after Rihanna left Def Jam, even after she became independent and started her own business empire, she's still connected to Jay-Z through A$AP Rocky. They're still in the same circle. They still attend the same events. They still do business together. And if prosecutors wanted to build a case against Jay-Z, if they wanted witnesses who could testify about his relationships and his business dealings, Rihanna will be one of the first people they call. She worked with him for years. She saw how he operated. She was there during the time period when Epstein was most active. And now she's with someone who's currently signed to Jay-Z's company. She has access to current information too. She's not just a historical witness. She's a present-day connection. And that makes her incredibly valuable to prosecutors. But it also makes her incredibly dangerous to anyone who wants to keep secrets buried. Let me show you the pattern one more time so you can see it clearly. January 2026, Epstein files released. February 2026, Omar Jabaloff found shot in the head. March 2026. Kay McKnight found dead at Diddy's property. March 8, 2026. Rihanna's house gets shot up with an AR-15. All within 3 months. All connected people in the Epstein files. All after the documents went public. And every single time, authorities try to frame it as something else. Suicide, overdose, crazy stalker, mental health crisis. Anything but what it actually looks like, which is a systematic silencing of potential witnesses. Now, I'm not saying there's conspiracy. I'm not saying there's some shadowy organization ordering hits. But I am saying that when powerful people have billions of dollars at stake, when they have their freedom at stake, when they have their entire legacy at stake, they will do whatever it takes to protect themselves. And if that means making sure certain people can't talk, then certain people won't talk. Let me address something I know some of you are thinking. But the woman who shot at Rihanna's house was mentally unstable. She posted crazy things on social media. This was clearly just a disturbed person. And you're right, she was disturbed. Her social media does show signs of mental illness. She did post erratic things about Rihanna. But that doesn't answer the fundamental questions. How did she get Rihanna's address? How did she get an AR-15 across state lines? How did she travel from Florida to California? Who funded that trip? Who gave her the information? Because mentally unstable people don't just spontaneously develop the resources and knowledge to carry out targeted attacks on celebrity mansions. That requires planning. That requires help. And the LAPD still won't tell us where that help came from. They arrested her. They charged her with attempted murder. They set a $10 million bail. But they won't reveal her motive. They won't explain how she knew where to go. They won't explain who she's been in contact with. And that silence is deafening. Because in any normal case, in any normal attempted murder investigation, the motive is one of the first things released to the public. The suspect had a grudge. The suspect was obsessed. The suspect had a financial motive. But in this case, nothing. Just under investigation. Which tells me they found something they don't want the public to know. They found connections they don't want to expose. They found evidence that this wasn't just a random crazy person. And now let me bring this back to the Epstein files specifically. Because there's one more thing you need to understand about why Rihanna might be a target. Epstein didn't just collect phone numbers for fun. He collected phone numbers because he was building leverage. He wanted access to everyone. Politicians, so he could influence policy. Scientists, so he could fund research and buy credibility. Billionaires, so he could invest and make money. And entertainers. Entertainers served a specific purpose. They were bait. Young, beautiful, famous women were used to lure powerful men to Epstein's parties, to his island, to his properties. And once those powerful men were there, once they were compromised, Epstein had leverage over them forever. So when Epstein had Rihanna's phone number, when he was calling her repeatedly, when he was allegedly obsessed with her, was that really just fandom? Or was he trying to recruit her? Was he trying to get her to one of his parties? Was he trying to use her as bait for someone else? And if he made that pitch to her, if he told her what he wanted her to do, then she knows. She knows how the operation worked. She knows who was involved. She knows what they were doing. And that makes her one of the most dangerous people alive to everyone who participated in Epstein's network. Now, let me show you why the government's response has been so suspicious. Because it's not just the LAPD staying silent. It's everyone. The FBI hasn't commented. The DOJ hasn't commented. Rihanna's team hasn't commented. Jay-Z's team hasn't commented. Rock Nation hasn't commented. It's complete radio silence from everyone involved. And that tells me there are conversations happening behind the scenes. Conversations about what Rihanna knows. Conversations about what she's willing to say. Conversations about how to protect her or how to control her. Because make no mistake, if Rihanna decided to cooperate with prosecutors, if she decided to testify about anything she saw or heard during her 20 years in the industry, that testimony would be nuclear. She's one of the most famous women in the world. She's a billionaire. She has nothing to gain from lying. She has no criminal exposure herself. She's a perfect witness. And that's exactly why someone might want her dead. Let me walk you through what I think is really happening here. And this is speculation based on the evidence we have. But I think it fits the pattern. I think Rihanna has been interviewed by federal investigators. I think they asked her about Jay-Z. I think they asked her about her time at Def Jam. I think they asked her about parties she attended, people she met, things she saw. And I think she told them something significant, something that could be used in a prosecution. And I think that information leaked. Because in Washington, in federal investigations, everything leaks. Defense attorneys find out what prosecutors know. Targets find out who's cooperating. And once word got out that Rihanna had talked, once certain people realized she was a cooperating witness, she became a target. Not for an indictment, for elimination. And so someone found Ivana Lizette Ortiz, someone who was already unstable, someone who already had an obsession with Rihanna, and they gave her the tools. They gave her the information. They gave her the motivation. And they pointed her at Rihanna's house, hoping she'd succeed, hoping it would look like a random attack by a crazy fan, hoping the investigation would stop there. But she failed. Nobody got hurt. And now the LAPD has her in custody, and they're interviewing her, and they're digging into her background, and they're finding things that don't add up, things that suggest she wasn't acting alone. And that's why they won't release the motive, because the motive exposes a conspiracy. Now, let me address the people who think I'm crazy, the people who think this is all just coincidence, the people who think I'm connecting dots that don't exist. Answer me this. How many coincidences does it take before it becomes a pattern? Epstein dies in custody under suspicious circumstances. Ghislaine Maxwell is convicted but refuses to name clients. The Epstein files get released. Immediately after, multiple people connected to the case die. Omar Jabberloff, shot in the head. Kane McKnight, dead at Diddy's property. 3 others died in various accidents. Senator Nancy Mace demands Jay-Z testify. 2 months later, someone tries to kill Rihanna. The LAPD refuses to reveal motive. Federal investigators go silent. Everyone connected to the case lawyers up. At what point do you stop calling it coincidence? At what point do you start calling it what it is? A cover-up. A systematic effort to silence anyone who could expose the truth about what was happening in the entertainment industry for decades. An effort to protect billionaires and power brokers who exploited young women and got away with it because they had connections. And now those connections are being exposed, and they're fighting back with money, with lawyers, and apparently with violence. Let me take you back to what Senator Nancy Mace said when she called for Jay-Z to testify, because her words matter here. She specifically mentioned an FBI report that names Jay-Z in connection with sexual assault. That report also names Harvey Weinstein. You know, the Hollywood producer who was convicted of rape and is currently in prison. That Harvey Weinstein. Jay-Z is named in the same report as Harvey Weinstein. Let that sink in for a second. And a report also names Pusha T, another Roc Nation artist. So you have 3 people from the same circle, all named in the same FBI report, all connected to the same company, Roc Nation. And Rihanna's partner is signed to that company. Rihanna herself is in the Epstein files. Jeffrey Epstein had her number and called her repeatedly. And 2 months after these files become public, someone tries to kill her. You can't tell me that's a coincidence. You can't tell me there's no connection. The connections are right there in front of you. All you have to do is look. And now here's what I think happens next. I think the LAPD investigation into Ivana Lizette Ortiz is going to quietly disappear from the news. They'll prosecute her for attempted murder. She'll plead guilty or be found guilty. She'll get sentenced to decades in prison. And the motive will never be officially released. It'll just say mentally unstable woman attacks celebrity. Case closed. Meanwhile, Rihanna will increase her security. She'll probably move to a different house. She'll keep her children out of the public eye. And she'll never speak publicly about the Epstein files or what she knows. Because now she knows what happens to people who talk. They get visited by crazy people with AR-15s. And maybe next time, those crazy people won't miss. So she'll stay silent, just like everyone else is staying silent. And the people who were in Epstein's network, the people who exploited young women, the people who trafficked children, they'll get away with it. Because everyone who would testify against them is either dead, silent, or too scared to speak. And so now, with all that said, let me walk you through what this means for the bigger picture. Because this isn't just about Rihanna. This is about what happens when you challenge power. What we are going to see in the coming months is a continuation of this pattern. More mysterious deaths, more suicides, more accidents, more mentally unstable people doing inexplicable things that happen to benefit powerful people. And every single time, the media will frame it as something else. Tragedy, mental health crisis, random violence, anything but a coordinated effort to silence witnesses. Because the truth is too scary. The truth is that there are people in this world with enough money and enough power to make anyone disappear, to make any problem go away. and they've been doing it for decades. Epstein was an anomaly. He was a symptom of a system that protects predators as long as those predators are rich enough and connected enough. And that system is still operating. Right now, today, the Epstein files expose names. But exposing names doesn't mean anything if those people never face consequences. And they won't face consequences as long as witnesses keep dying, as long as people stay scared, as long as attackers keep showing up at houses with AR-15s. That's the message being sent. Talk and you're next. Cooperate and you're a target. Testify and your family is in danger. It's intimidation on a massive scale. And it's working. Because who's going to come forward now? Who's going to cooperate with prosecutors when they see what happened to Omar Jabberloff? When they see what happened to Kay McKnight? When they see what almost happened to Rihanna? Nobody. Everyone will lawyer up and stay silent. And the powerful men who built their empires on exploitation will remain untouchable. That's the real implications of what we're watching unfold. This isn't about one shooting. This is about whether justice is even possible when the people being investigated have unlimited resources. And right now, it doesn't look like it is. But here's the thing. We can't let them win. We can't let the story disappear. We can't let Rihanna's shooting become just another celebrity news story that gets forgotten in a week. Because if we forget, if we move on, if we stop asking questions, then they won. Then the silencing worked. And more people will die. So we have to keep pressure on this. We have to keep demanding answers. We have to keep asking why the LAPD won't reveal a motive. We have to keep asking how Ivana Lizette Ortiz knew where Rihanna lived. We have to keep asking who funded her trip from Florida to California. We have to keep asking who gave her the weapon. We have to keep connecting the dots between the Epstein files and all these mysterious deaths and attacks. Because that's the only way truth comes out. Through pressure, through attention, through people refusing to let it go. And if you're a hip-hop fan and you're not paying attention to this, if you're not concerned about what's happening to people in this industry, then you're not really a fan. You're just a consumer. Because real fans protect the artists. Real fans demand accountability. Real fans don't let powerful people get away with silencing witnesses. And so now, with all that said, let me know in the comments, what do you think about Rihanna's connection to the Epstein files? Do you think the shooting was really just a random attack by a mentally unstable woman? Or do you think there's something bigger happening here? Let me know your thoughts on whether witnesses are being systematically silenced. Do you think more people are going to die before anyone faces justice? Where do you see this investigation going in the next 6 months? Will anyone powerful actually be held accountable? Or are we watching a cover-up happen in real time? Drop your thoughts below because I want to know what you think. And if you made it to this point in the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It helps me out a ton, and it tells YouTube that this is the kind of content people want to see. Content that asks real questions. Content that doesn't just accept the official narrative. Content that connects the dots everyone else is too scared to connect. I can't thank you enough for watching. Your support means everything. Especially on videos like this that are going to make a lot of powerful people very uncomfortable. But someone has to talk about this. Someone has to keep asking questions. And I'm not going to stop. No matter how many times YouTube tries to suppress this. No matter how many people try to call me a conspiracy theorist, because the evidence is right there. You just have to be willing to look at it. But in the meantime, if you want to see how Diddy's legal troubles keep getting more suspicious with every death connected to this case, well, you're not going to want to miss this one. So check out the suggested video, because this rabbit hole goes way deeper than just Rihanna.